First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight, including the Hispanic Conservative Montgomery Party, Republican Party. This is an amazing venue you have selected and what a fabulous turnout, so thank you. In terms of distinguishing myself, I think one of the key primary things is actual hands-on experience. For the last 18 years, I have been a practicing litigator in the courtroom, representing litigants, hundreds of litigants, and being the voice of hundreds of children out there when they are stuck in the middle. I'm a firm believer that children should not be in the middle, and it is our job to keep them out of it. So that being said, for the last 9 years, I have directed the majority of my practice to be that voice, to help those children, and to keep them out. So in doing so, I have actually utilized that experience to actually touch these children, to give them some relief, whether it be mental health relief, therapeutic relief, co-parenting relief, different services that are out there available for these kids. Now granted, this is a family law specialization court. It is also the child welfare court, but I think we have an obligation to be serving, which is what a judge does, is serve, to be able to serve the entire community. There are approximately 620,000 people in this county. And though it's very sad when these children are in the child welfare court that they are in the predicament they are, the current caseload in this court is only representing approximately 20% of the other 620,000 people. We have an obligation to those people as well. In terms of service and my experience with service, I have been in civic organizations and volunteered for the last 12 years. I have participated in various advisory programs for children and served on those boards. And I think what separates me is being out there, doing it, and actually participating not only with our litigants, with our families, and with our other service leaders. Thank you.
Judge Tucker, what distinguishes you from your opponent as the best person qualified to serve as judge of County Court at Law number 3?
All right, first I want to thank the Montgomery County Republican Club and of course the Hispanic Conservatives of Montgomery County, Ms. Watson, and everyone who is here tonight for participating in this process. I think it's an important one and I'm honored to be here. I think that what distinguishes me is first and foremost, I've been the judge for this court for over 9 years. I was the associate judge for 8.5 years until I was unanimously appointed by the Commissioner's Court as the presiding judge on July 1. I have literally lived in a courtroom my entire legal career. I started out clerking for a federal judge, and then I started with the county attorney's office in their child welfare division representing CPS. I have done nothing but litigation my entire career. I have tried hundreds of final trials. I have had probably 5,000 CPS hearings. I have done upwards of 15 or more jury trials. I've done appellate work. I've done every possible aspect of litigation that you can do over my 20-year career. I'm one of only 47 attorneys who is board certified in the 2 specialty areas of this court, child welfare law and family law. And I believe very strongly that the child protection docket needs a home in a statutory court. And I also believe very strongly that we need as much expertise and attention on those cases as we can give them. I've fought for these cases for almost 20 years, and I'm continuing to do that now. I also bring a wealth of family law experience. I've tried every conceivable type of family law matter you could think of. And in my 20 years as a litigator and as a judge, I've never, not one time, been reversed or remanded on appeal. I'm passionate about my job. I am also passionate about public service. I love this county, and I would like to continue to serve it. Thank you.
Our next question is about changes or improvements. And Judge Tucker, we're going to start with you. As Associate Judge for County Court at Law number 3, you have had an opportunity to observe what has and has not worked. What improvements or changes have you made to the court since being appointed, and how has the court been functioning?
Well, I believe the court has been functioning quite well. I did promise a seamless transition, and I also, my first order of business was to ensure that we had an associate judge who had a high level of expertise in family law, and I was able to accomplish that with Judge Jack Riley, who has been a family law attorney for 27 years and board certified in family law for over 15 years. Because I want to make sure that our court, the litigants, and everyone in there is getting the highest level of expertise for family and for our CPS docket. I've improved our disposition rates in the time I've been on the bench. I've lowered the budget. And I've also started working through brick and mortar jury trials starting in June. We've had, I think we've been having trials at least monthly, maybe more. So I do believe things are going very well, and I actually think that things are improving. And we also have a lot of plans on the horizon for our CPS court, so I'm excited.
Laura, as an ad litem and attorney practicing in County Court at Law 3, you have had an opportunity to observe what has and has not worked. What improvements or changes will you make if elected?
I think one of the primary things is to be able to understand the accuracy of the reporting. One of the things that Judge Tucker has brought up is about the disposition rates and how that, in her opinion, they have improved. I believe the disposition rates should accurately be calculated in terms of what cases are actually being closed versus what cases are being transferred, which are also accounted as a disposition when you run through the Office of Court Administration reports. That being said, in terms of changes that I think that need to be made, I think the biggest part is to have someone on the bench that actually understands what's really going on in that courtroom. The best analogy I can give is it's very difficult to call balls and strikes if you've never been in the batter's box. You have to understand the importance of discovery rulings. You have to understand the importance of if one more continuance is granted, what impact that has on that family. As serving as an amicus and ad litem in this court, I have watched the outcome and the everlasting effects on these children as I go visit with them, as I go talk with them, as I see the impacts on whether it be a delay or someone didn't spend enough time talking to that child, or maybe the court didn't invest enough time to really understand the rest of the facts. We have an obligation to our families, we have an obligation to our children to do that. And one of the things that I believe that I would firmly be instituting is what can we do to try to keep those families out of that courtroom to begin with? Are there other things that we can be offering these families through services that are available out there, free of charge, that we can give to these families to try to help them even avoid the litigation at all? I try to say all the time, family law is good people on bad behavior. These families cannot heal from the trauma of what they're going through until they get either through litigation or are able to avoid it. So that would be my primary focus.
I think it's Laura. I've already made that mistake. We have them written down too, so it helps me. Ms. Watson, what are the biggest challenges facing children in family law cases, and how do you propose to accommodate these challenges if elected judge at County Court 3?
I think one of the biggest problems that I have seen through my experience in working with children is having someone in that role that is either properly trained or properly educated. We currently have a wheel concept where these attorneys are appointed just whoever is next online. Now, from the standpoint of the courts, I understand that may be the only likely feasible way to do it. However, I think there should be some minimum standards that are set for these attorneys if they are going to serve in that role. If you don't understand what these children are saying without truly directly saying it, then you are failing that child. So whether it be going through additional training courses, whether it be going through additional CLEs, continuing learning education, whether it be having more experience from hands-on of actually doing the job, you have to be willing to get out there, get in the trenches, be prepared to go and stand up and fight for that child. Because under our particular section of the code that deals with ad litems and amicus attorneys, that is your obligation. You're there to stand for that child and be their voice. You're there to do everything you can to try to promote settlement in that case, which further decreases the load that is in those courts. We have to find a way to better educate, better lead, better represent. And that would be what I would focus in having minimum standards with regards to that role in that court.
Thank you. Judge Tucker, what are the biggest challenges facing children in family law cases, and how does your court propose to accommodate, or how do they accommodate these challenges? Thank you.
So for our family cases, I would say the biggest challenge for our kiddos is being involved in the conflict between the adults in their lives. And I see this play out every day in my court, where the parents come in and just say all the negative things they can about the other, and then I interview the child in chambers, and all they want to talk about is how many fish they caught over the weekend. And I think it's important to understand that children want to be children, and they don't want to be involved in this adult conflict. And I try to encourage adults to keep them out of it. With respect to our CPS docket and our children, our foster children, we have a very big problem in addressing the trauma that they've experienced and addressing the issues that causes through their behavior, acting out, inability to stay in placement. Our court is on the verge of becoming one of actually just, I think, 15 in the country with judges trained in trauma-informed care by the most widely renowned, well-respected methodology. And at the end of April, my associate judge and I will be 2 of only 5 judges in the state of Texas who are certified in this trauma-informed care. We are learning how to make decisions which accurately and ensure their best chance to heal from the trauma they've endured, and their best chance to live a life that is filled with hope and love and happiness.
Thank you, Judge Tucker. Next, this is a question we ask the County Court at Law 1 judge candidates, but one that we feel is important. What are the most significant achievements in your career, and how will those help you to be a good judge?
So my most significant achievement in my career, I would say, well, there have been a couple. I think becoming double board certified in family law and child welfare was a big one, because it allows me to have a high level of expertise for this highly specialized court. But I can say that without a doubt, the proudest moment of my legal career was when County Court at Law 3 was designated unanimously by the Board of Judges as the Child Protection Court. It has been a 20-year journey. When I started as a CPS attorney, we worked in a courtroom that was probably no bigger than this stage. We didn't have security. I think one of the counsel tables was actually a fold-out table. And I have watched over the years, things have improved somewhat, but these cases have never had a home. I'm the first judge in the history of this county, and one of just a few, if any, in the state of Texas who have specifically asked to have all of the CPS cases, to be responsible for all of the legal cases for the foster children in this county. And I believe that we can revolutionize the foster care system in this county, and I also believe that we can become a model for other courts in Texas and beyond in learning how to heal these broken hearts and give these kids the best chance at a bright future.
Thank you. Ms. Watson, what are the most significant achievements in your career, and how will those help you to be a good judge?
Well, if we're going to stick it to just the career, I can't give the obvious one of being a mom and being a wife, but sticking with just the career, I think probably some of my most significant aspects is when I made the decision to shift the majority of my practice over into the land of what we call amicus work, or being that voice for those kids. I started that I'd say about 9 years ago, and became very passionate about that because, again, as I have said before, those children didn't ask to be in the middle. Those children need a voice. Those children need an escape. And someone has to be willing to stand up with the background and the experience to do that. When I have cases that I have children that have been shut down and refuse to talk to anybody, a therapist, a psychologist, anything, and I'm willing to sit there, hold that child's hand, wipe those tears, hug them and tell them it's going to be okay, and then they decide to allow me to break down that wall and share with me what's really going on in that house, that to me is a huge achievement to be able to establish that level of trust. I've been able to do that with hundreds of children, some of which I have worked with closer, and I mean, it's just gut-wrenching to find out some of the things these children go through. When you talk and deal with these children that are also in the CPS cases, much the same thing. But I think it is important, and as a significant aspect within our job, is just because they may not be living in an ideal environment, that does not mean we yank them out of that. Our goal in CPS should be family reunification. The thing is we have to look at what we're doing and are we really meeting that goal? And frankly, I think we have a lot of work to do in this county. So in terms of my significant accomplishments, not only just being the voice for kids, I think it's being a part of this community and going out and understanding what this community really needs for our future. Because I have invested hours and hours in that. I worked 6 to 7 days a week to get there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, Ms. Watson, what promises have you made to the citizens of Montgomery County while campaigning, and how will you ensure to keep those promises?
Well, I think the number one promise that we have to give to our citizens is that I'm willing to work. I'm willing to be there. If our court opens at 8, then we need to be opened at 8. If our court goes until 5, that means we stay all the way until 5. I think there are ways to be able to manage our dockets that can be more efficient. There's no reason for a courtroom to be shut down at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. We have an obligation to you, the taxpayers, and to our families to get them through this trauma and this system. With regards to the other promises that I've made promises to continue to serve, not only in the role of a volunteer, but as someone that has given back to this community, which I have routinely done. To be able to continue to serve on boards where I am allowed to, where it does not create a conflict, that is nothing more than an honor to me, that if allowed through the Ethics Commission, I would obviously want to continue to do that. I think the primary thing is to be out there and talk to the citizens, understand the things that they need, understand what more can we do better. And the way you do that is getting on the street, shaking hands, talking to people, getting involved. I have shown that I have a history of doing that for the last 15 years, and I assure you, if given this honor, it will do nothing but increase. We have an obligation to you, each and every one of you in this room and in this county, to give that back. And sometimes that means we make sacrifices, and thank goodness our families understand that, because it's the rest of the families, if we're coming in here to serve, we owe you that obligation.
Judge Tucker, what promises have you made to the citizens of Montgomery County while campaigning, and how will you ensure to keep those promises?
Well, I have promised the citizens of this county to continue doing what we're doing with County Court at Law 3. And we work as hard as any court in this county. We are on the bench basically every single day. And not only are we working 8 to 5, but we work after hours. Believe me, Judge Santini can tell you, we have a thing called a queue, which is full of documents, and it always needs attention. And sometimes there are hours in the workday to do that. So we work on the weekends, we work after hours. And I am committed to that. I have a record of high achievement in my life, and I've always been a hard worker. And I'm not interested in being good at my job. I want to be the absolute best, and that's what I plan to do. I want to give, I tell people in court all the time, we right now are trying to make our court as accessible as possible. Yes, it has been challenging during these COVID times, but we've never stopped. We have continued to have court. Sometimes we have a combination of in-person and Zoom. We have the capability. If people need a hearing, they can get a hearing. We work constantly, and I do believe that these families need swift resolution to the conflict, and that's important because children's lives are hanging in the balance and we need to make decisions. And we do that in our court every day. We do it swiftly, we do it with compassion and integrity, and we will continue to do that. And I should say that I have also served this great community. I have worked as a public servant for the entirety of my legal career, and I'm very proud of my public service, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. Thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause.